Yes, or by one vote.
Okay.
He's at least here now. That's enough. We can start. I think she's back there. I think Eric's back there.
Oh,
Pretty good.
okay, great.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Everything. Thank God.
Good. And I think it was like you were driving in a snowstorm or something.
No.
No? Oh, okay,
There's no.
all right.
It's
So-
pretty nice. You can try to make my video.
Okay, so I'll go. I say I'm blah, 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 and then you can go.
Okay.
And then I say,
Nice to meet you.
Sounds good.
Where they do have the questions already there. They're gonna be asked. At the end, the audience is gonna ask the impromptu questions though, so y'all gotta be ready for that. And so water.
Like the
Thank you,
bottom
thank you.
half. Fun.
I'll go here and then.
You had a break.
I'm trying.
Okay.
Yeah. My life story, I keep thinking, they're gonna get tired. And no, seriously, that's how I do feel. I mean, I
You-
don't think of that one, but I just like, oh, I just don't like this feeling. It's hard to get away even for an hour or two here. What's the plan?
Good morning, everyone. Thank you all for making it to the second day of our Party at the Polls event. We welcome all students, staff, faculty, and members of the community. So again, thank you for coming. My name is Alexia Smith. I am the Vice President for Student Government.
And I am Allison McVeigh, the student trustee for ECC.
And we will be moderating today's town hall. Just like yesterday's event, today's event is sponsored by the Political Science Department, Student Life, and Student Government. Again, thank you all for coming. This is a rare and very convenient event and opportunity for you guys to both listen to the candidates and then go right outside and vote based on what you heard here today. The Kane County mobile voting van is right outside Building B. If you go towards the bookstore and take an immediate right, and then take another immediate right and go right outside the Building B doors, the mobile voting van is right there, right outside.
Whether you have registered to vote or not, you can use the van. If you have not registered to vote, however, you will need 2 forms of ID. One of those forms can be your student ID and the other has to have your address on it. If you register to vote at the van, you'll also have to vote today. You cannot only register. We are also doing a raffle for 5 $25 gift cards for ECC students, so make sure to sign up through the QR codes posted around the event. Today is Party at the Polls, so of course we have DJ class from Intune DJ Entertainment. We also have La Katrina Taco Food Truck outside, and students at the event will receive a $5 food voucher to use the truck after the town hall. Last but not least, we'll also have the student body candidates campaigning after the town hall. So please stop by and speak with them and learn about why they're running for their positions. Before I move on to the candidate introductions, just know that after we finish with the pre-written questions that we have for the candidates, there will be Q&A for the audience as well. You can scan the QR code behind the seats in front of you to submit your questions.
Now we move on to candidate introductions. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to give a brief introduction for themselves and why they're running. We will have a timekeeper who will give you the signal, and DJ Cass will start playing music when your time is up. Okay, so I'll just go down the list that I have, beginning with Mr. Sergio Rodriguez.
All right, thank you, and good morning still. I want to just take an opportunity to thank the student government, thank ECC for being able to host this event. I think it's really important to be able to give you, the students in the community, an opportunity to listen to the candidates and why they're running. So my name is Sergio Rodriguez. I was born in Carpentersville, just down the road. I'm a lifelong resident of the area. I did join the Marine Corps after high school, where I was away for 4 years, but came back to the Elgin area where I've been ever since. My current job is I'm a VP of IT and marketing for KCT Credit Union, as well as I'm very involved in the community as board president of a not-for-profit called Centro Información. One of the reasons why I'm running is, I am a student of ECC. I graduated back in 2010. And I came back as an adult learner when I came back from the Marine Corps, as I was working full-time and navigating, coming back to school as an adult. I think it's important to be able to run. I feel that ECC was a very important part of my life that helped me grow both professionally and personally. I do believe that it's something important to be able to have representation. Again, as a student, I understand some of the issues that students face on a day-to-day basis, having to manage, going to work, having, parents to take care of while you're going to school. So I want to make sure that there's a different perspective and a different voice on the Board of Trustees to be able to represent students that had a similar circumstance to what I did when I grew up. ECC, like I said, has been very important to me. It's very important for me to represent the community. I'm very involved in the community, as well as being on the City of Elgin's Dr. Martin Luther King Committee. I've also worked with the Elgin Toys for Tots because, again, I think it's important to be able to serve. And I really hope that I can have your support. And if you have any questions or comments after this candidate format, I'd be more than happy to talk to you one-on-one. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing. I'll move on to Patricia Arroyo.
Good morning. Thank you all for being here. I must congratulate you all for being here because when I was your age, I was not involved and not informed and not participating. So I'm so grateful for all of you to have put this event together and that you're here to listen because your vote is your voice and it is important that you express your vote. But my name is Patty Arroyo. I prefer Patty. If you say Patricia, I'm kind of under the gun, like, no offense, but I go by Patty. And I have also been a student here at Elgin Community College during my college years. I took up a couple of courses to help me save some, sounded like I went out. No, I'm good. Okay, thank you. To help save money in the college world, because that is expensive and education is worthwhile that expense, always, hands down. But I also too want to represent the community and be that voice for those students that are here and have someone be able to be their voice and their representation for the community of students and also the professors that are here supporting the students. So I have worked in this community for the last 28 years. I work at Ascension St. Joseph Hospital. I'm the manager of interpretation services. So diversity is very important to me and making sure everyone has an opinion and their voice can be heard as well. I also, like Sergio, serve on the board for Centro de Información. I lose track of time. I think I've been on that board maybe 10 or 12 years now. I'm currently the board secretary. And in prior years, I've been on other boards, such as Elgin Hispanic Network. I was their president 1 year, 2 years. And also I serve on the board for Ecker Center Mental Health. And I also lead the care for the underserved in the community. But I'm here to help however I can, and I'm here to support the student body and make sure that anyone that has a concern, I'm very approachable, and anything that I can do, I'm here to serve the community. Thank you for my music.
Thank you for sharing. Okay, moving on to Jennifer Rayco.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jennifer Rayco, and I do thank you very much for organizing this event, Student Life. And yes, it is wonderful to see everybody here today, and just encourage you to leave here today and exercise your right to vote. I commend you on your curiosity to just learn more and to ask any questions that you may have. I grew up in Elgin and graduated from Larkin High School. I've always been very involved in the community, even starting at the high school level with starting up the Spanish club to being the student government president. I've just always had a heart for getting involved and serving. I went on to Boston University on the East Coast and just continued to travel further and further from home. Actually spending almost 10 years over in Europe, which was a wonderful experience that actually helped me appreciate back home even more. So I returned to this area. I work as an HR director for a local construction company. And the reason I am running is because This is an important election for the ECC Board of Trustees. There's 7 seats on the Board of Trustees and 4 of them are up for reelection. So I've been on the board for 6 years. I currently serve as the chair and also the legislative liaison to our state and federal representatives. And I'd just like to continue the upward trajectory of success that we've had, serving alongside excellent candidates such as Patty Arroyo and Sergio Rodriguez, who are also running with me on the United for ECC slate. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to Lucio Estrada.
I just want to thank student body and ECC faculty for inviting me, and thank you guys for showing up today. My name is Lucio Estrada. I was born and raised in the city of Elgin. I joined the Army Reserves, which I'm so part of. I've been on it for 10 years now, and that's what I've been doing. Also, I just graduated from ECC last semester, so I know some of the struggles that are going on within the school. What I do on the civilian side, on my actual job, I'm a cash manager for a big corporation, and that's what I do. Also, I started a non-for-profit organization called Elginites United. So what we did was clean up the Fox River, clean up the shore banks, and try to clean up the city. But during COVID, we took a hit, so we couldn't actually go out because of the what do you call it? Like the mandates and stuff like that. So we were kind of struck. But I am running for ECC trustee because I want to make the board more diverse and I want to bring fresh new ideas to the board. And that's it. Thank you, guys.
Thank you all for your introductions. Okay, so I'll be moving on to the questions that we prepared for you all. You have 90 seconds to answer each question. So you guys got this. So first question. I will start with Mr. Rodriguez, and then I will go down the same order that I had for your introductions. First question. One of the main purposes of the Board of Trustees is to determine what programs and services the college will offer and to whom. Do you have any ideas for any programs or services that the college should implement and why?
So I've been lucky to have been on the Board of Trustees now for a little bit over a year. I was appointed to an open seat last year. So I know a little bit more about what's been going on with the college. And I know that a lot of the things that we do in terms of program and services are based on information and the needs of the community, whether it's through partnerships and collaborations through employers, as well as information of the jobs of tomorrow. So I think ECC has done a good job in that respect to make sure that we're training the next workforce for the jobs of tomorrow. However, one program or service that I think that would benefit the students is I do really think that a mentoring program would help. You know, in my career, you know, I started off as a systems administrator. I'm now the VP of IT and marketing. And I know that networking was a big part as to why I was able to achieve the growth that I did. But I do know networking is not easy. It was very difficult for me beginning to be able to find people that look like me in a career that's heavily dominated with other, you know, people that didn't look like me. So I think it's important for students to be able to network with community leaders, to find people that in their job or work parts that you want to do, to be able to build those relationships, to be able to get information on what would benefit you, to be able to have someone to bounce ideas or questions to help you grow, not only academically, but also in any career opportunities that you may have in the future. I think that would be a benefit not only to students, but also to the community at large.
Thank you. And then moving on to Ms. Arroyo, I will repeat the question for you. One of the main purposes of the Board of Trustees is to determine what programs and services the college will offer and to whom. Do you have any ideas for any programs or services that the college should implement and why?
So that's a great question. And I would also reflect upon the student body because you're the ones living in the moment here in the college and you know what your needs are. So I would ask in a survey format what you would look for. I do have my own ideas as far as what I see as a need, just simply from my experience working in the community and what I've been going through in the working world. And for me, that's a lot of focus. And it's somewhat taboo to say it, mental health, but it's really the foundation of our physical health and our success in life is just learning coping skills. Because when I've worked in the hospital with adolescents, I wish I had learned that stuff when I was their age. And that helps them become adults that are more able to function and address their concerns and their conflicts and any kind of difficult conversations that have to happen in the real world. But that to me is very important, and it's something that's often overlooked until we have an issue, a concern, a problem, and we don't know how to address it. Those stressors then come in. But if we have the skill set from the beginning and a foundation on how to have some of those difficult conversations, whether it's with family, and sometimes those are the hardest ones to have. But for me, mental health would be a great additional service to the group, both for the adults and the students.
Thank you. Moving on to Ms. Rayco. I'll repeat the question for you. One of the main purposes of the Board of Trustees is to determine what programs and services the college will offer and to whom. Do you have any ideas for any programs or services that the college should implement and why?
Okay, thank you. I think of a couple of things. First of all, Elgin Community College, they often refer to it as a economic recovery engine. The college is very in tune with the needs of the community. We understand what the workforce needs are, what job openings are there, and what programs we need to offer here to be able to give you, the students, more opportunities to find jobs in our community. So the college, for example, recently had conversations with local hospitals about the great need for respiratory care in our community. And so, for example, we would start up a respiratory care program to meet the needs and to offer those job opportunities to students. Another very useful tool is all of the data that we have here at the college. It's very important because it tells us what things are helping us to be successful and what areas we need more work in. So for example, we've seen that student success coaches have been very successful at promoting student success. So I would like to see more student success coaches available to the student body.
Thank you so much. Moving on to Mr. Estrada. One of the main purposes of the Board of Trustees is to determine what programs and services the college will offer and to whom. Do you have any ideas for any programs or services that the college should implement and why?
One of my ideas that I have for the college is actually starting a master's gardening program. And I think it'll be beneficial for the students to learn how to garden and move more towards like a healthy lifestyle. Also, that could help us combat food insecurity, because I've noticed that during the pandemic, it got more expensive and people are buying junk food, which is affecting their mental health and their physical health. So one of the things that I think that ECC should start, a program that should implement is a master gardening program. Teach students how to grow their own food, how to live a healthier lifestyle. And with that food, we can donate it to the community. So help out others. Another thing that I would like is modernizing the gym. That way, our students have access to free gym healthcare and work out. You know, after a stressful day of class, they can just go lift some weights, go run. So those are some of the ideas that I want to implement at ECC.
Thank you. Thank you all for your responses for our first question.
Our second question. Diversity and inclusion are extremely important and are a vital part of ECC's student body. How do you plan to ensure that these values remain a priority on campus? And we'll start with Mr. Rodriguez.
Yeah, so obviously, growing up Latino in a place, in Carpentersville back in the day when there wasn't a lot of people that looked like me, I get it. I was stereotyped and I had an chance where I was called suspicious. So the cops were called on me because I was walking in a certain neighborhood. So I understand what it's like. I understand being in the military and working a little bit harder than those around you. But diversity, inclusion, and equity is important because not only is it about race, it's also about gender identity, sexual orientation, about mental health, disabilities. So it's a wide range of different things. And I understand it because I also have been impacted by it. So I want to make sure that ECC will always be a welcoming environment for everybody, regardless of where they come from, regardless of their socioeconomic background. And I think it's important to be able to serve everybody because we're all a part of this community, and that Elgin Community College is here to serve the community as a whole. I will always make sure to be respectful of everybody's opinions, perspectives, and be open to listen to everybody, because I think it's important to not necessarily focus on your differences, but really listen to everybody to be able to find common ground and to make sure that we always start with the common respect.
Ms. Arroyo. Diversity and inclusion are extremely important and are a vital part of ECC's student body. How do you plan to ensure that these values remain a priority on campus?
Thank you. This also applies very much to me as well. I grew up in Chicago for the first 6 years of my life and then moved to the burbs. And when I lived in the burbs, I think I was the only person in my school that had a family that spoke Spanish. And so I was very embarrassed back in the day to have my mom talk to me in Spanish in public. And I'd say, don't talk to me in that language in front of my friends. How embarrassing. I obviously have learned to appreciate and value that now. And because of that, I have the job that I have. So I do very much value diversity and inclusion. I see it at work, and I'm a big fan of helping people communicate and express themselves in their own primary language. And I want to make sure everyone's voice is also heard. And same, regardless of where you come from, we're all human beings. I have a joke that we're all pink inside because we all have red blood running through our veins. So we're all human beings. We all need to be heard, respected, appreciated, valued, and everyone's perspective has a value. And certainly having a common ground is important. There are challenging conversations that have to be had oftentimes, but having that foundation of respect and listening to one another. I mean, we all eat yummy food at home, and if we exchange even those wonderful cuisines, that lays a foundation for creating those conversations that are difficult to have. Thank you.
Next will be Ms. Rako. Diversity and inclusion are extremely important and are a vital part of ECC's student body. How do you plan to ensure that these values remain a priority on campus?
Let me start by saying that diversity is a strength. And that's something that we welcome here on the ECC campus, and I fully support. Again, I'm not sure why I'm wired that way, but I've always been drawn to the different. And I think that's what drew me overseas for so many years. And just kind of being on the other side of being in a situation where you are the minority. For example, I threw my children into the public school system in Italy. So we experience what it's like to be the one who doesn't speak the native language and have to climb that hill in many regards. So I was very proud as a board member to vote for the hiring of the executive director of the diversity, equity, and inclusion here at ECC. And his presence on campus has been very helpful. It's very key to just have conversations and to listen to the various people and groups that are on campus and ways that perhaps that they are feeling excluded, and what can we do to help them feel included. We certainly want to make sure if there's any barriers that exist to their success, that we are addressing those and making sure that everybody has everything they need to be successful while they're here at ECC.
Okay, next we'll do Mr. Estrada.
So-
Diversity and inclusion are extremely important and are a vital part of ECC's student body. How do you plan to ensure that these values remain a priority on campus?
So I can relate with Sergio. Growing up, Mexican American first generation, it was kind of hard on me. Actually, English is my second language, so I just started speaking English like 8 years ago. So it was always hard, and I used to get bullied because of my accent and not being able to speak English. So that impacted me a lot. So I want to make ECC like a safer environment for everybody, so everybody can express themselves and be themselves. And I think it's really important. Yeah, so I think it's really important that we come up with new programs as well, that we can introduce people to other people, like kind of like icebreaker events, so they can feel more comfortable within the college. So that's
Thank you all for your responses. Before I move on to question 3, I'd just like to remind everyone that you can use the QR codes in the back of all the seats to submit questions that we will be asking during the Q&A portion. So if you have any questions that you want to ask the Board of Trustees after the pre-made questions, then please submit them using the QR code. And then beginning with Mr. Rodriguez again. Question 3 is, although ECC's tuition has been kept the same the last 6 years, the cost of living is continually going up. Do you have any plans on what the college could do to help combat this issue on the local level?
You know, this is something we can all agree about because this is impacting all of us, you know, whether you're living by yourself, have roommates, have family. I get it. You know, I have a small child now at home, so our cost has gone up significantly over the past 2 years. Obviously, there's limits to what we can do because a lot of it is driven to the federal level. However, at the local level, there's a lot of things that ECC is trying to do. For example, the Spartan Pantry, to be able to have resources here available to students, no questions asked. I think it's important to also make sure that we're letting our students know about the resources available to the community. There's a lot of wonderful community-based organizations available that have different resources to help students and their families. I think it's important for us to be able to get that information to the students and make sure that they put away the negative stigma that there is, because, you know, we're all facing these issues right now. All costs of goods are going up. So it's important to be able to make sure that information is made readily available, to know that there's resources out there to help, and don't be ashamed to use them, because we're all impacted by these raising costs. The other thing with ECC, making sure that, you know, it's a great community college at a low cost. You don't have to worry about going into high student debt. That's one way that kind of helped, but I get it. The cost of goods are going up, cost of food. So it's just to make sure that we have resources available to the students, not only on campus, but through all these community-based organizations throughout the community.
Thank you. Moving on to Ms. Arroyo. Although ECC's tuition has been kept the same the last 6 years, the cost of living is continually going up. Do you have any plans on what the college could do to help combat this issue on the local level?
So that brings me back to 1994, when I first started working at the hospital. And do you know why I got that job? I happened to walk down one of the hallways here at the college and I found the job board. And it was a position in registration in the emergency room. And I said, I could do that. I speak 2 languages. So I have a high school degree. So I started working there. And as a result, because of the hours that I put in and the great work that I did, they put me on as a full-time, well, a part-time benefited position. And that helped to reimburse my fees for school. So they paid for my tuition. And I think that if we can collaborate more with companies that are like that and connect students to help reduce those costs, having some sort of a foundation like that, that would help you, to support you. That was a great burden relief for me, to know that as long as I kept up my grades and I kept up my good work, I could submit my grades and get reimbursed and then pay for the next semester. I also worked an abundance of hours to be able to pay for school, but that was a great relief to me. So if we could partner with the local companies that I know are very charitable as well, there's a lot of foundations out there that can help that. And I'm sure they would support a local college like us, but they are here locally as well.
Thank you. Moving on to Ms. Rako. Although ECC's tuition has been kept the same the last 6 years, the cost of living is continually going up. Do you have any plans on what the college could do to help combat this issue on the local level?
Well, one thing that we have done is kept the tuition flat for 6 years in a row. It's very important for us to ensure that tuition is affordable for our students. Additionally, for the community, we've kept taxes flat for 3 years in a row. So those are very important ways that we help combat the cost of living increase. As mentioned here on campus, there's all sorts of ways that we want to support our students. So through the wellness professionals or the food pantry, and also through the foundation. We want to ensure that you get the help you need. So it could be that you need a scholarship, or maybe you need help getting a connection, like through a work study program. We do partner with a lot of employers that you could get your foot in the door and that they could help you with your tuition. So there's lots of help here available on campus. So really anybody who does need help because they're struggling with cost of living expenses should seek help, because either through the foundation or their wellness professionals or through partnerships in the community, we want to ensure that your needs are met.
Thank you. Moving on to Mr. Estrada. Although ECC's tuition has been kept the same the last 6 years, the cost of living is continually going up. Do you have any plans on what the college could do to help combat this issue on the local level?
Well, the first thing that I would do to combat this issue would be to keep the tuition rate as it is now, and also the property taxes, because I came to ECC and I was struggling to make ends meet because I didn't know how to use my military benefits because I didn't know how to. And I think we should come up with not programs, but like resources where people can go and ask for help. For example, I know filing for FAFSA is extremely difficult, especially if you speak another language. They might not have those resources available at all times. So I think that's really important. And also food pantries, like, don't be embarrassed. Encourage students, if you need help, come ask for help because the resources are right there for them. I think that's really important. Another thing that I would do is they said work programs. Encourage people to work for these work programs. And yeah, that's all I have.
Thank you for your responses. Our fourth question. When people or groups of people are in positions of power, it can be difficult for them to see the impacts they have on those who are subject to that power. How do you propose to better understand the people you are serving, and how will you make sure that your decisions are actually benefiting the campus and not hurting it? Mr. Rodrigo?
So I think this is a great question. Over the past year since I've been on the board, I really do try to make myself available and to attend different events on ECC, not only community events, but also student events. Like, for example, I went to the first inaugural hip hop ensemble that I know they're doing again next month, which I thought was great. I've been to the Black Student Connection, where we had opportunity for students to talk to faculty and staff about the resources and to just network with different people and the faculty. I've been to the Magic series, where we're talking about issues that are impacting the Black community. I think these types of things are very important. And I've always wanted to make myself available to be able to interact not only with faculty, with staff, but also with students, because I think it's important to be able to see firsthand the programs that we're talking about in the Board of Trustees meetings, to be able to go there, visit them, and support them. I also think it's important that know that all of you have a voice. There's opportunities for everybody to go address the board at all the meetings. I know sometimes faculty does that, but I'm not sure a lot of students have done that in the year that I've been on the board. Exercise that right. I also want to know, you'll see me frequently walking around these halls. Approach me. I'm very approachable. Come talk to me. I've had a lot of great conversations with students over the years. I also think that this forum is actually a great idea. Maybe we should look to continue this, maybe on a yearly or every other year basis, to be able to interact not only with students, but also with faculty, to be able to hear firsthand from you guys, to learn about the things that are decisions that we're making and how it's impacting the student body and the faculty.
Thank you. Ms. Arroyo? When people or groups of people are in positions of power, it can be difficult for them to see the impacts they have on those who are subject to that power. How do you propose to better understand that the people you are serving, and how will you make sure your decisions are benefiting the campus and not hurting it?
Thank you. So on the boards that I've served over the several decades that I've been on, I've always made myself available to the staff that work there. I've gone and visited with them. A lot of them have my cell phone number, and they feel very comfortable approaching me and talking with me, addressing their concerns to me, so that I can also see it from the staff's perspective and not just hearing information from the leadership. And I would like to continue that trend. I've always been an open door policy type of person. I too am very approachable. I've always enjoyed being on the college campuses. It makes me feel young at heart as well. So I look forward to participating in the events and being here. I think that if you're also able to join those board meetings and let us hear your voice and your concerns too, that would be valuable to continue that path, that open communication. And I know that there is one of those suggestion boxes. I don't know, maybe we could do something more virtually, because of course technology is the way of the future. And if you want to, we can also establish some sort of direct communication via Instagram or phones, things like that, to help make it a direct communication. If ever I was to be in this position, I don't ever consider myself to be a person of power. I like to be a person of the people and very approachable and ask any questions, and whatever I can do to help, that's what I'm here for.
Next will be Ms. Rako. When people or groups of people are in positions of power, it can be difficult for them to see the impacts they have on those who are subject to that power. How do you propose to better understand the people you are serving, and how will you make sure that your decisions are benefiting the campus and not hurting it?
I'd just like to reiterate some of the things that I've already heard from my colleagues here. Definitely, the board is elected by the people for the people. So we want to hear from you, and communication is key to our success. So one of the main ways that we hear from the student body is through the position of the student trustee. So for example, student trustee Allison McVeigh is all over campus every day. And in addition to that, she has office hours. So she is a strong and a respected voice on the board. So she attends all of our meetings, and we want to hear from her, and she represents the student body. So that's a tremendous advocate that you have on the board. Another thing is I know there's surveys that are done. So please participate in the surveys, because that information does make its way back to the board. So that's another important way to voice your concerns. And again, the Board of Trustees, we're all approachable. You can come. We'd love to hear from you at our meetings. You have 3 minutes to address the board. It doesn't have to be anything formal. If you have a concern or a question, just come let us hear from you.
Next up will be Mr. Estrada. When people or groups of people are in positions of power, it can be difficult for them to see the impacts they have on those who are subject to that power. How do you propose to better understand the people you are serving, and how will you make sure that your decisions are actually benefiting the campus and not hurting it?
Well, I think forums like this and town halls are a great idea. Like host one at the end of every semester and have all the ECC board members here sitting down, and the students get to ask some questions and express their concerns. I think that would be a great idea. Another thing will be, because I know at the end of every semester, we have those review your teachers, how they did. We should do that for every single ECC trustee board member. We should start doing that. Hey, you're lacking on this, you're doing good on this, you're doing bad on this. And hopefully they get to listen to us, because I know I've done those, we call them climate surveys. I've done them before, and I feel like I'm not being heard, but we should come up with a better system where we can actually listen to the students and bring those issues up to the board meetings at the end of every semester. I think it should be done at the end of every single semester, not just once a year. It should be done 3-4 times a year, actually.
Thank you. Before I move on to the next question, again, I just want to remind you guys to submit any questions you have for the Board of Trustees using the QR codes. So question 5, beginning with Mr. Rodriguez. ECC adapted well to the struggles of COVID. If other struggles should arise, how would the Board of Trustees and ECC overcome that struggle moving forward?
I think none of us anticipated what was going to happen with the pandemic and how long, we had to deal with it. That's why one of the things was great is to see the campus open again and seeing students here. I think it's great to be able to see everybody together. But really it comes to understanding that we have to take into account all stakeholders, right? The students, the support staff, the faculty, everybody has a voice, and we have to make sure that any decisions that we were making, any type of struggle in the future, has to take everybody into account and make sure that we're using, reliable information to be able to make decisions that best fit the need of the community as a whole. I think that's very important. And again, you have to listen to everybody, all stakeholders, to be able to find common ground and to come up with decisions that's going to always make sure to keep students and faculty safe, as well as being able to take into account everybody's concerns.
Thank you. Moving on to Ms. Arroyo. ECC adapted well to the struggles of COVID. If other struggles should arise, how will the Board of Trustees and ECC overcome that struggle moving forward?
So unfortunately, working in the hospital, we had experience firsthand with COVID, and there was a lot that we were unexpecting and a lot that we had in challenges and policies and procedures that we had to last minute kind of come up with to help make sure people were safe, healthy, and would go home with their loved ones. So the number one issue for us was safety, to help keep our associates safe and able to come back to work to keep taking care of those that were coming in sick. So for me, that's the number one priority, is making sure safety that everyone wants to be able to go home safe to their family members. Hopefully, we'll never have to encounter something like this of this magnitude again, but I think working in teams in collaboration with the leadership, with the staff, we need to hear everyone's perspective, voice concerns to make sure that we're addressing the needs that there are, should there be another event like that. And then just making sure there's collaboration, communication, that there's a clear understanding of the expectations to make sure everyone is safe. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to Ms. Rako. ECC adapted well to the struggles of COVID. If other struggles should arise, how would the Board of Trustees and ECC overcome that struggle moving forward?
Well, when we adapted to the struggles of COVID, it didn't happen overnight, but it did happen very quickly. And I commend our faculty, staff, and administrators on how quickly they did adapt to ensure that we could continue serving our students and continue contributing to their success. So a key component of that is communication, communication with this through the student trustee, through ECFA, the faculty union, and through SECA, the support staff union as well. So working with key leadership, the cabinet, the president's cabinet here. So understanding first and foremost what those struggles are and what we do, what are our options to maybe address the problems. Maybe also collaborating with the ECC police for safety issues. We do have an emergency team here that's well prepared to enact plans as needed. So those are some of the things that we would do. But communication is key, and also flexibility.
Thank you. Moving on to Mr. Estrada. ECC adapted well to the struggles of COVID. If other struggles should arise, how will the Board of Trustees and ECC overcome that struggle moving forward?
Well, I think that the current ECC board did a great job with addressing COVID. They kept us safe and they kept the faculty safe. And I think that it also gave many people opportunities to stay at home and stay safe, stay with their loved ones, and take online courses. Something that I would do moving forward, if there was let's say another pandemic, is continue doing the same thing, asking people like, hey, what should we do? Asking the faculty and the students. Another thing is just listen to the science, listen to scientists, listen to the doctors, state laws, and comply. And thank you.
Thank you. Our last question, we'll go, Mr. Rodriguez. What is a major issue you have noticed on campus, and how do you plan to use your position on the ECC Board of Trustees to fix that issue and further improve ECC?
Okay, so I mean, there's a lot of things I know that you guys are seeing on campus in terms of renovations. You know, ECC has a lot of things already planned. Like, you know, Lucio did talk about the fitness center. That is one thing that the Board of Trustees have already allocated funds to be able to improve. We're also been talking about the renovation of Spartan Terrace, the trucking program. So there's a lot of things. The problem is limited resources, right? So we have to make sure to use what we have and prioritize different projects. But right now, I don't really see any glaring issues. You know, one example that I can give that happened recently, because I am on the finance committee for the Board of Trustees. And, you know, finance is one thing that I do have a lot of expertise in because of my career and where I work, working over 20 years at a financial institution. One of the issues is we did have a company come in who manages a lot of the money that ECC has. I noticed that a lot of the investments that they have for ECC is not being invested wisely. So I push back on this company to be able to look at why that is happening and to come back to the board to be able to give us an opportunity to be able to take advantage of high interest rates right now for some of the money that ECC has. Because right now, some of the money isn't earning high interest. And this is all benefits to college. So that's one example that I can tell you recently that I did see an issue and I did spoke up as my current role on the finance committee.
Thank you. Next, Ms. Arroyo. What is a major issue you have noticed on campus, and how do you plan to use your position on the ECC Board of Trustees to fix that issue and further improve ECC?
So I've been participating in observation of some of the board meetings over the last half a dozen months. And one subject that keeps coming up is the lack of benefits for our adjunct faculty. And I'm in alignment with that. I would say the salary, because compared to other community colleges, I would reflect that the salaries is on a lower end than what some of the other community colleges offer in the state. And that goes back to funding. So that funding is a necessity for the college to continue to expand, to grow, to satisfactorily pay the appropriate fees for the students, as well as helping the teachers that support you and help you to grow and become the professionals that you will be through benefits. It's only fair that they have health insurance, dental insurance, should something happen to them. And that happens through relationships, partnerships at the state and local levels. So I hope to be involved in those conversations to help bring more funding to the campus, because that's really the source of it all, right? We all need to have more money to be able to expand and provide those benefits and levy some critical conversations and relationships with local organizations to help provide some of those benefits to staff.
Thank you. Next, Ms. Rako. What is a major issue you have noticed on campus, and how do you plan to use your position on the ECC Board of Trustees to fix that issue and further improve ECC?
Well, some of the ways that we can help support students who are struggling, for example, we talked about cost of living struggles, and the board recently partnered with KCT Credit Union to bring them on campus. And that's just a convenience for our students and employees who work here, but it's also an opportunity to enhance financial wellness. It's an education opportunity and a free service that's available to our students. We've also been talking about a potential health clinic that would be available on campus as well. So just health issues that the student body or faculty is struggling with, that would be a convenient way to meet those needs right here on campus. We also do struggle with some space issues in a lot of our classes. For example, as Trustee Rodriguez mentioned, we have a master plan that we are continually revisiting and focusing on where money will be spent in the near future to enhance our programs and increase those spaces and broaden our programs. So for example, the manufacturing center will break ground in 2024, and that will be an opportunity to enhance skills and get more jobs.
Thank you for your response. Mr. Estrada, what is a major issue you have noticed on campus, and how do you plan to use your position on the ECC Board of Trustees to fix that issue and further improve ECC?
Well, something that I noticed here from being a student not too long ago was that there's no information on some of the programs that the college offers, or communication. For example, sometimes the community college offers these scholarships, but the students don't get to find out about that information just because of the lack of communication, like student emails. I barely got any emails, and the ones that I got were like all late. Another thing that I did notice was that they don't offer mental health services in school. And I think that's really important, especially, you know, most of you are young. I'm 29, I'm kind of old. So most of you guys are young. So, you know, working part-time, full-time, coming to school, part-time, full-time, it takes a toll on you. And I've seen that the school did not offer those programs, or if they do offer them, there's no information on them. So that's something that I would like to bring to the board, you know, fix those issues, communication issues, and providing these programs for you guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all for your responses. We will now move on to the audience Q&A.
Right. Well, let's give thanks to Alexia Smith, our VP of the Student Government, and Allison McVeigh, our student trustee to the board. They did a wonderful job. And thank you all the candidates for coming. Just want to remind you all that you can register to vote and vote in the Lakeside patio just out here to the right. and out to the patio there. Also want to encourage you to vote for your student government. There are posters there. There's QR codes where you can vote right here or through the student portal. So just want to encourage that. And thank you, Student Life and Student Government, for your partnership. All right, so the audience had some questions that they would like to know of our distinguished candidates here. And so I'll combine some of the questions as they're related. There was a question about how are you going to communicate with students? And on the other end of that, another student asked, how do you plan to improve self-expression and the support of self-expression here at ECC? So a lot of questions surrounding communications. How do you plan on communicating with students, and how do you plan to support self-expression? And we will start with Ms. Arroyo.
Thank you for that question. I'm grateful for it. And so communication is sometimes difficult for people to have, depending on what the situation is. It's easy to communicate with people you get along with, people you know, people you're comfortable with. Those challenging, what we call crucial conversations, are the ones that are sometimes difficult. So a lot of times it's helpful to participate in courses, classes that help simulate those conversations and get those practice skills. As you begin to practice those conversations and use those I statements, a lot of times it makes things uncomfortable and challenging at first, but with practice, it becomes natural habit. So with communication and self-expression, I don't know, I'm visualizing something on the boards here with the walls that I see. A lot of times you can do self-expression. When I was in college, we had on our dorm floor just a wall where people could just write how they were feeling just to get it out. And it was anonymous. So that way they wouldn't feel that they were being attacked or we know who wrote that, just to get their expression out. I think you can express yourself a lot through art, and we don't always realize how artistic we really are until we're put in that environment. And communication, I know that it's very easy nowadays. Everybody's going around like this on their phone. So to me, that's the most direct, simplest way to communicate and share your concerns, questions through, I don't know if we have any kind of Instagram account for the college to communicate with the board, but something like that I think would be good to have for you all to share your thoughts, issues that can come up so we can address them soon.
Thank you, Ms. Arroyo. Ms. Rako, same question. How would you plan to communicate with students, and how can you support their self-expression?
I can't stress enough the importance of the role of the student trustee on the Board of Trustees. The entire student body has a seat on the Board of Trustees through the student trustee. So please take advantage of getting to know that person, bringing your concerns and your questions to that person. Ms. McVeigh will soon be stepping down and replaced by, I think there's 3 candidates currently running for that position. So be sure to exercise your vote for who you want for the student trustee. And again, take advantage of their accessibility in student life. We want to hear from you, and that's one of the best ways to communicate to the Board of Trustees. The other way is, many of us do have jobs, so we can't be on campus all the time. But when we are on campus, we're always approachable, and we'd love to hear from you. Whether you're a faculty member, staff member, student, please let us hear from you. I mean, we're human beings just like you, and we really are concerned about you. That's why we're in this role. And we want to serve the student body and employees to the best of our ability. So I would say those are the main ways. And then in terms of self-expression, I'm just so pleased with the opportunities that are available through Student Life. You can start up new clubs if you'd like. I mean, that is a great way for self-expression. Also through our promotion of diversity, equity, and inclusion on campus. So that, again, that role of our executive director, who is very busy having conversations at all levels, just to ensure that people are able to self-express themselves as desired. So we want to, again, we want to make sure that there's no barriers to you being who you want to be. We encourage a welcome, belonging environment. That's what we want the culture here at ECC to be. And that's what the board supports.
Thank you so much. Mr. Estrada, how would you plan on communicating with students and how would you support their self-expression?
So to communicate with the students, something that I would do is send out bi-weekly or monthly newsletters, telling them what the board is doing, what we're gonna do, and when we're gonna meet next. Because I don't think I've ever seen a poster saying when the board's gonna meet on campus, walking around through campus. I don't think I've seen one. So it makes it harder for the students to know, hey, they're having a board meeting on this day. So they talk about like show up to the meetings, but you guys don't know what the meetings are. So I think that's really important, letting you guys know when the meetings are going to take place. Also for communication is, for example, like the questions, the QR codes, take a picture and send the questions to the trustees. For self-expression, so in the military, I'm part of this program called the SHARP Ambassador Program. So SHARP stands for Sexual Harassment Assault Response Prevention. So what I do is if somebody's having an issue, it could be anything from EO or sexual assault, sexual harassment, they'll come to me and now give them the resources like, hey, you need to go here, you need to do that. So I think that the community college should start coming up with ambassador programs like those, just to give you guys the resources and direct you guys in the right direction.
Thank you so much, Mr. Estrada. And then also, Mr. Rodriguez, same question. How would you plan on communicating with ECC students and how would you promote and support their self-expression?
In terms of the communication, I think that's a great question. Right now, I think you're right. There might not be a great way for us to be able to communicate it, other than I know right now the Board of Trustee meetings are actually recorded and uploaded to YouTube. So that gives students the opportunity to be able to see at least what's happening at the Board of Trustee level. But I do think, and I'm going to definitely take this away. There's got to be a better way for us to be able to communicate to the student body. Again, you'll see me on campus a lot. Luckily I work right down the street. I'm down here for doing a lot of different things. I'm very approachable, but this is something that I think that there's got to be a better way for us to communicate to the students, whether that be, like Patty has suggested a Facebook or Instagram, or like Lucio has recommended some sort of communication channel to be able to know what the Board of Trustees is doing and how it impacts you as a student, as well as the faculty and support staff. In terms of self-expression, as I said numerous times, I want to make sure, and I think ECC does a good job, that it is a welcoming environment for everybody, regardless of where you're at, and my colleague Jennifer Rayco did talk about how student life, and she's true, there's a lot of great clubs and programs that you can be a part of. And if there isn't one there is right now, talk to student life. You can be able to start a new club, to be able to make sure that you have the ability to express yourself however you see fit. But I also like Lucio's suggestion about, having more events on campus to everybody to get together, because if you don't venture out of your comfort zone, you're never going to know what you like. And that's one of the things that I loved in the military. I got to live in Japan for a year. I got to be deployed to the Philippines, to Thailand. I was exposed to different cultures. And, if I never had that opportunity, I never would know that I loved Asian cuisine or sushi or things of that nature. You know what I mean? I think it's important sometimes to get out of your comfort zone, listen to people, because I feel like we have a lot more in common than we do have differences.
Thank you so much. Some wonderful ideas that were shared. And the students, all of you kind of touched on here and there throughout the presentation about mental health and support for students. And so a student would like to know, they said a lot of students are facing burnout, especially at this point in the semester. In what ways do you plan on making students feel motivated, heard, and supported when this happens? And we'll start with Ms. Arroyo.
So yeah, I struggle with that every day in the work environment that I have. So I'm like the expert on burnout right now. I've been working 7 days a week, I think, for the last, 5 years maybe. So I have learned how to manage that. And it's called self-care, self-love. And a lot of that was unknown to me until the last few months. And I wish we had known of that forever and a while ago. So there are, I know, psychology courses here and classes like that, but there are a lot of experts in the community that would love to support the student body and faculty administrators in those avenues. The services are there, and maybe it is just a matter of connecting and linking the two. But that is to me the most helpful way, taking time for oneself. And a lot of times we don't do that because we are running from one place to the other. And there's a lot of crystal balls, as I call them, that we're juggling. And if one of them falls down, it crashes and explodes, burns. But if we're not safe in our mind and our spirit and our body, that definitely does lead to burnout. So I would welcome the opportunity to connect you with the experts in the field that I know. And I know there's a lot of people in that need and demand. So bringing it to campus on a periodic basis, I think would be helpful to avoid that burnout, and just having it accessible to you and know that it's something that's going to benefit you, and to not feel stigmatized by seeking those services.
Thank you. Ms. Rayco, same question. Students at this point in the semester are feeling burnout. In what ways could you help students to feel motivated, heard, and supported when this happens?
Well, I've heard from our student trustee reports that this time of year, often there's activities that are available to the students to provide relief from stress, just different fun activities. And I think sometimes therapy dogs or things like that, just kind of a nice pressure reliever from the grind of, studying and just getting out and just taking a break and enjoying yourself. And if the burnout is, if it's really a problem and you're struggling, I would encourage you to speak to a faculty member, ask where you could go for help, or if you could take advantage of the wellness professionals. We do have wellness professionals on campus just for that reason, and they could provide help or point you to additional resources to support you. Again, if your problems are just, you feel like you just really can't, you need some support to move on, then that support is available here for you. Unfortunately, that burnout is, it's a reality. I just seen the end result of the students who push through that and, make their way across on graduation day and get their certificate or their diploma, their degree. There is that bright, shining satisfaction on the other end. But again, sometimes pushing through it is easier said than done. So I would ask you to please lean on our wellness professionals for help.
Thank you. Mr. Estrada, when students are experiencing burnout, how can you help students and make suggestions for how they can feel more motivated, heard, and supported when this happens?
So something that I've noticed from ECC is that they usually have these programs where people can go, but they usually hold them at the end of the semester. And I know sometimes you get burned out at the end of the semester, but you can also get burned out at the beginning of the semester, working full time, having a family, or, people react differently to stress. So something that I think will be helpful is giving students the resources they need. Like, hey, you know what, like you're feeling burnout, journal, go for a run, or provide like group therapies at the community amongst your peers, and talk about what's stressing you out, what's bugging you. And I think that's a great stress reliever. Like, talk about your problems, and if still that's not enough, go to a well-being specialist and that the community college can provide. Because yeah, trust me, I got burnt out at the end of the semester. I was done. I'm like, yeah, I'm dropping out, but I'm like, no, I'm gonna continue going to school. But yeah, I totally agree. Group therapies that will help out the students more, offering more services, and giving students ideas like, hey, this is how you can cope with stress. Journal. What's another one? I'm not a professional, so I can't really tell you, but stuff like that, I think that will help us out.
Thank you. Mr. Rodriguez, same question. When students are experiencing burnout, how can you help them feel motivated, heard, and supported? How can we do that at the college?
I heard a lot on the panelists today. You heard from Trustee Rayco, there are actually a lot of programs available on campus for students to be able to help you distress, mental health resources that are available to students. But I also heard Mr. Estrada's concern about it. A lot of this communication is out there. One thing that I am excited to talk about is Student Life is actually working on an app specifically for this. It's a student app that's going to be launching soon this year. That's going to be an information portal for students to be able to learn about all these different resources and what's going on. So I would definitely say take advantage of it, but as Trustee Rayco talked about, talk to faculty. I know when I was a student here, you have those faculty members that you trust, that you build a relationship with, talk to them. They'll put you in touch with the resources available. But it's like simple, just, simple as getting together, hanging out with your friends. I come by the Joe Lodge every once in a while and I see the Gamers Club playing, and I used to game a lot when I was younger. I don't do it as much now as I'm a parent and I work a lot, but that was one way that I was a big fan of, a distressor, just mindlessly playing video games at night to be able to get my mind off of things that I had going on with work and school. But I get it, I unfortunately, I graduated from ECC in 2010, immediately transferred to NIU, but my workload got really crazy because I had more responsibility added to me. I was still a board member. So actually, I didn't finish my bachelor's degree till December of last year because I took time off because it got to be too much for me. So I put my bachelor's degree on the side and started focusing on my career. Now that I've been able to achieve the position I'm at, I finally went back to NIU this year and I was able to finally complete my bachelor's degree in December. So I get it, but it's like there's resources available. And if there's things that we aren't doing, talk to student life, talk to faculty to see what we can able to do, be able to better support you, because student success is a big thing on the Board of Trustees and the administrator and faculty, because we want to make sure that you succeed, so that your investment, your time, your money is something that you're going to get a benefit from when you complete your college degree. And like, Trustee Rayco talked about, one of the greatest things as being a trustee is that graduation, and being able to see the students as they walk that line and getting their diploma, and the relief that they have while looking back at their families and their loved ones to be like, hey, I did it, and I get it. I know what that feeling was like. So just know that there's resources, but I'm excited about the student app that's going to be coming out later this year.
Thank you so much. We all want to support the holistic health of our students, and we want them to be successful here at ECC. For the sake of time, I'll ask one more question because I know some students do need to transition to classes. One student wants to know, how do you view the connection between being an ECC student and participating in democracy, such as voting? Should we encourage students to be active to vote? And this is a two-part question because we had a faculty member also ask a question similarly. They wanted to know, what role should faculty play in encouraging students to participate in civic engagement, our political process, and elections? So you can answer from whichever vantage point you would like. Should we encourage our students to be politically active and vote and to be civically engaged? And how can we help as faculty, staff, and members of the board? We'll start with Ms. Arroyo.
Absolutely. Once again, I registered to vote at 18, and I was so excited to be able to put my first vote in. And of course, a lot of times in our history, it seems that we tend to focus on just the presidential elections. And while those are great and very meaningful and impactful, and as we've experienced through history, every vote does matter and count. But the local elections are the ones that directly impact our pocketbooks and our influences in our local legislation. And so I would encourage everyone to participate, to be aware, to be informed, to be educated, to get to know those that are around you that are making those decisions that will affect your livelihood, your household, and your local laws that sometimes aren't made in the best interests of what we need. And it sometimes satisfies the local other candidates that are supporting one another and having each other's back. So we want to have the voice be representative of the majority vote, not just a certain select that have been voting year after year after year. So I encourage you to vote regardless of who you vote for. Please do exercise your vote and encourage your classmates, your family members. A lot of times people don't make the time to vote on these local elections, and that's again the ones that matter the most. So please go ahead and do that and share the word to encourage everyone to participate. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Rayco, same question. Do you think we should encourage students to be politically active and civically engaged and to vote in our democracy? And how can we be part of encouraging them to do so if that's your belief?
I don't have too much to add to what Ms. Arroyo said, but the United States is a democracy and everybody can be involved in that democracy by exercising your right to vote. And, I've heard rumors that civic engagement, there will be maybe a club available for that. And, I think it's a tremendous opportunity to just be involved and have those conversations, understand what the issues are. Just educate yourself, just being in that environment with other people who care about voting. And I just see it as a tremendous education opportunity. So, and I think the more people you involve, the better, right? Because you get more perspectives and thoughts on different issues that impact our lives and our society and this college. So I fully support the student involvement and faculty as well. They're not necessarily telling you who to vote for, but they're encouraging you to, again, just broaden your horizons and be involved. I'm sure you've heard it a million times. You are the future of America. We want you to know what's going on. We want you to be educated and you know, and we know that you're very thoughtful and bright, and so it's important to be involved.
Thank you. And then, Mr. Estrada, same question. Do you feel that we should encourage our students to be civically engaged and active, to participate in their democracy? And if so, how then can we support them in doing that?
I think that's a great idea. Teaching the students and encouraging to go out and vote. You know, with me, that's fine. And to promote it is having forums like this, bring out the candidates and have the audience, you guys, ask them questions. That way you guys can learn more about the candidates, because, you know, sometimes what you get on a piece of literature might not be the truth. And, you know, some candidates lie, and we get that a lot actually in politics. But, you know, it's nice of you guys to ask the questions and get to know the candidates one-on-one, and, you know, the faculty providing you guys like, hey, go out and vote. Because I know sometimes, like when I was 18, 19, I didn't know what a local election was. I just knew about the presidential one. So I think it's important for the faculty to remind you guys to go exercise your right to vote. Thank you.
All right, and the final word is by you, Mr. Rodriguez. Do you support encouraging students to be civically engaged and to vote and participate in democracy? And if so, how can we support students in doing that?
No, absolutely, yes. I think it's very important, and pretty much echo what everybody said here, but it's important to exercise your right to vote. You know, I always say that a lot of times it's very easy for us to complain, but what's the point of complaining if we're not doing anything about it, right? So this is a very simple, easy way for us to be able to exercise your right to vote, to make sure that your views and opinions are being heard, and to be able to learn about the candidates. Like, I'm sure we've all, you know, done research papers for classes. So that's what you do. Research the candidates that are running out there, question them, listen to their, you know, what they're saying, you know, question their views or opinions to make sure they align to what you're looking for. And if you can't find candidates that aren't aligning to what you want, then consider running, you know, because it's very important to make sure that your voice is heard. And if you're not able to find candidates that align with your views and opinions, then I would highly recommend for you to start taking those steps to actually you run for office, whether it be at a local election. But I do definitely want to echo what Patty did say, is that local elections really do matter. You know, these really do impact your life on a day-to-day basis more so than the federal level does. And I think in terms of the faculty, you know, the faculty did a great job when I was here to make sure that we're all critical thinkers, right? So to be able to have these types of forums, to be able to have an opportunity for students to be able to talk to candidates is very important. And I would love to see this to continue in the future.
Thank you so much. Let's thank all of our candidates. So hopefully you got your question answered. If not, I'm sure they'd be willing afterwards to answer a few questions from students, faculty, staff, or community members. And so with that being said, I'm going to turn it over to our moderators, and that would be Ms. McVeigh and Ms. Smith. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone, for all your responses and taking the time to listen to the students and the questions they have for you. I want to remind everyone that if you're a student, we do have $5 vouchers for the taco truck. So if you stay in your seat, we'll pass them out to you before you guys go out and release you. I also want to let you guys know that we have a voting alarm And if you hear that, anytime you hear that, that is a reminder and an encouragement for you to vote for the student body elections, as well as go to the mobile voting van and vote there as well. Again, the mobile voting van is right outside Building B. Head towards the bookstore, take a right, and then take another immediate right. And the mobile voting van is right outside, right there on the patio. Please take advantage of this opportunity. I believe that's it. Please just take some time to talk to our candidates for the student body, or I'm sure the candidates would be happy to talk to you guys after we end the town hall here. And thank you all for coming.